I'm not really a coffee drinker, but I got into the Nespresso machine. It's actually not bad, I'm not gonna lie. Oh yeah. Hello my sweet little lemon drops. Welcome. Today we talk all things pre-shoots, aka engagement sessions. What are they? Why should you have them? How do you prep for them? And what should you do on them? Oh, this is so good. If you're a couple about to get married, then welcome. I hope you guys enjoy this video. In fact, why don't you guys make a coffee whilst also watching this video? If you're a photographer, then I hope you guys take some notes. And if you're my mom, well, I hope you like this video, mom. There you go. All right, let's begin. So what are pre-shoots, aka engagement sessions? Now picture your romantic partner, you've been dating for several years and the man finally decides to pop the question, or woman, we're not discriminating here. You finally say yes and then you agree to start planning the wedding. And then months leading up to the actual wedding itself, you've realized you've never both been photographed. Well, a pre-shoot or engagement session is basically a session where your photographer takes you and your partner out for a photo shoot. Now the photo shoot's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be a time where you get to have romantic, cute, cuddly, all of those cheesy shots with your partner. And your photographer is pretty much there third wheeling you guys and capturing all that as it happens. Story of my life. Now this video is going to break down a few topics around, leading up to the pre-shoot and also what you should do whilst on the pre-shoot. So if you do like this video, make sure you show it some love by hitting that like button, commenting down below, and also subscribing. That'll help out the channel a lot. Alright, so why should you actually have a pre-shoot or an engagement session? Well, the first tip I kind of already said. So if you and your partner have never been photographed either solo or as a couple before, one of the reasons why people often have a pre-shoot session or an engagement session is to basically kick out the nerves before the big day. Now, I've never been married, but I can only imagine the fact that couples leading up to the wedding day would be so anxious, so nervous that might be reflected in the photographs. A couple months later, when you receive the images, you don't want to look back at those moments and go, oh man, like I wish we had something to practice off before the big day. Well, funny you say that because this is what a pre-shoot is for. A pre-shoot is supposed to be a time where you can pretty much let go of everything, just have a great fun time with your partner, get some romantic, stunning, cute images, and actually be in the moment just before the big day to embrace or experience what it might be like. At least that way, leading up to the moments when you're at the altar, that you don't sort of freak out or stress out about how the photos are going to be because you've technically already gone through a session before. Another reason why it's super important to have a pre-shoot session with your photographer is also actually to get to know them. So it works both ways. Whenever I go out to a pre-shoot session or an engagement session with my couple, I actually get to know a lot about them. I get to know about how they meet, what their quirky mannerisms are, any funny jokes that we all tell, and all whilst I'm doing that, I'm capturing these stunning photographs and these images that I really love and my couples also really love as well. What this does is in turn, and this applies more for photographers, it just builds that rapport whereby your couples feel so comfortable and so trusted by the fact that, hey, you know what, they've got a really great photographer capturing their engagement session, and they know when it comes to the actual wedding, they're going to have an absolutely great time. Picture it almost like a trial and error, try before you buy, if you will. This is basically like the testing phase before the actual big day, and you're pretty much ironing out all the wrinkles for how things are hopefully not going to turn out, and both you get familiar with each other as a partner in terms of how you guys photograph, also with your photographer as well. Another great reason as to why people have pre-shoots or engagement sessions is because sometimes the images I actually use for a variety of reasons. Number one, you might want to blow up some of your images for a canvas and put that on display during the actual wedding and reception. If you're a photographer, I highly recommend you to encourage that for your couples just because it's also your portfolio that gets out there as well. Another reason may potentially be for the fact that some of these images that are going to be used on the actual online gallery could be downloaded and used for invites or a website landing page for customers who want to have a digital invite. If you want to take it another step further, sometimes you can print out these images and hang them as little postcards around your wedding venue. It's super cute, especially near the entrance when people are just walking through. One of my couples that actually used the images that we took for the pre-shoot session used these photographs as rolling images on a digital projector so that whilst guests were enjoying the festivities, they could actually see some of these images during the wedding, during the reception, or if you're a South Asian photographer like me, sometimes you might have a few photos from, say, the Sangeet or Haldi or Mehndi night that are being played on repeat during the actual wedding or reception. The pre-shoot just adds an extra layer of content for people to consume whilst at the wedding in case there's nothing really happening as far as the ceremony goes. Okay, now we move on to the next part. How do we actually prepare for your pre-shoot or engagement session? So the first thing I always advise my couples to do is come up with a vision or a theme for what it is that you actually really want to do. I get asked by so many times from all my couples, we don't really know what we want to do, so maybe you could guide us. The first question I always ask them is, well, what do you feel like doing? Do you want to perhaps be at a beach? Do you want to get some shots near say an alleyway go a bit more dark and mysterious. Or you might really be big on nature, so you might want to go to say like a cliff or even a forest. I think your first idea should be identifying what a location would be and then working backwards from there in terms of, okay, what clothes do we want to wear? Do we want to perhaps go cultural or do we want to go Western on this? Usually what I recommend is for people to check out my social media websites. I'm just going to pop up my Instagram right here. And so that way they can basically see, okay, great, this looks cool, or maybe we want to try that, or maybe these types of images are awesome. Sometimes couples need a bit of references, so if you're a photographer, guide them through some of your portfolio. Vice versa, if you're a couple and you already have something in mind and you've got images to proof for it, send that to your photographer. Show him or her exactly what it is that you want to create and get their opinion on it. The next thing you want to do to prepare for a pre-shoot is organize the date and check the weather in advance. Now I know that's kind of simple, but you'd be surprised how many people get that wrong. It is often very difficult for wedding photographers to take out weekend times just to do a pre-shoot naturally because they're photographing weddings. You might get lucky with a date further down the line. Other cases, sometimes you have to do weekdays to prepare for your photo shoots. When it comes to the weather, make sure you have a contingency plan. For instance, if there was a date that you guys all collectively agreed upon, try and have a contingency plan in case something else went wrong or the weather was sort of storming on the day, or you just had a shit ton of rain, or even just a little bit of rain. Either way, you might want to have something as a plan B backup just in case. Sometimes I often give 2 to 3 dates just in case the weather's just been temperamental. And if you're in Sydney and Melbourne or any other temperamental city as far as the weather goes, then you understand that these things are often very up in the air. Another pro tip when preparing for your engagement session or your pre-shoot is often mostly for the females who have a hair and makeup artist is to organize this date with your makeup artist for a hair and makeup trial. This is perfect, so that way at least you can basically test out what your hair and makeup is supposed to look like on the day and have a vision and understanding for what those images might actually turn out to be like. Oh, pro tip, I forgot this one. On a pre-shoot or just well in advance from before, make sure you eat. Do not be like one person that I had who, you know exactly who you are when you're watching this, because I know you will be watching this, and you have very low blood sugar levels and you feel like either fainting or vomiting. Because unfortunately, sometimes people just don't have the time to eat leading up to the pre-shoot. And if that's just a pre-shoot, can you imagine the wedding? So make sure that you eat something, yeah? Or if not, I'll just make sure I have chocolate, which I 99% of the time do, or just a can of Red Bull in the car just in case something happens. Yeah, you'll be so surprised. People just don't eat. I don't know why. Another tip. Wear comfortable shoes. More so this applies for women than for men, but for women who are wearing heels, that's great. Obviously keep them on the shoot location day and all of that stuff. But when you're walking from point A to B and it's like, 50 meters plus, you can swap your shoes out for something comfortable. Bring a jacket. Oh my God, bring a jacket. Yes, you will get cold, especially if it's somewhere high and near a cliffside. Small things like hairspray, brushes, makeup kits. Bring them to the actual shoot just in case. Or on the shoot, you might want to bring a friend. Why not, right? I'm going to use that friend as a lighting stand to hold my gear just in case. So thank you in advance for that friend. As for the time of doing pre-shoots or engagement sessions, I usually prefer to keep it towards the afternoon during sunset. So as a couple, maybe avoid doing midday shots. Especially as a photographer, you should already know that lighting conditions are super harsh. Unless you're shooting indoors, then no problem at all. If you're going to be one of those couples who say sunrise, fair enough, you can also do that too. But for the girl, work backwards. You have to get ready and then drive to the location. That might be a really early start. So something to keep in mind. The final tip in terms of how to actually prepare for your pre-shoot or engagement session is make sure that you send your photographer some references. And I know I already briefly spoke about it. However, this is super important in terms of getting your photographer to understand, okay, well, these are the images that I want. How much can you really help us and create this content? Now, your photographer is going to appreciate that. They're going to make sure of the fact that, okay, great, I've got some, clear objective guidelines that I need to work by. These are the images that my couple want. And now we're going to work with each other in terms of delivering them. You're going to understand exactly what vision you want to create. Your photographer is going to look at you and go, thank you so much for being as blunt and direct about what it is that you guys are after. And together you guys are going to cooperate on the pre-shoot session to make sure you guys have both a great time getting all the stunning images that you guys both want. Now the final part is what to actually do whilst on the pre-shoot or engagement session. Well, the most cliche and short answer is be yourself. I think too many couples often stress out about the fact that they've never done this, and they often say that we're really nervous or really awkward. My biggest response to that is I love it, because I often treat my couples like a blank canvas. I have this piece of artwork in front of me that I can do whatever it is that I want and generate some amazing, stunning images that I like and hopefully they like. If you guys are nervous, definitely voice that to your photographer. And as a photographer, you should naturally come prepared to the fact that most couples haven't done this before. And that's okay. But then your job would be, okay, well, how do I make these guys as comfortable as possible? There's a few things that I've done. Usually I just start by having a conversation about how these guys met. Sometimes I might play a bit of music. Other times I might even play a question game and they try and answer it and see who wins. I think the benefit of being a photographer here is your job is to guide and to also help create. So as someone who's done this a few times, naturally you're going to have a few couples who come to you and are a bit curious or confused or a bit unsure about how the day actually turns out, which is absolutely fine. It's a really fun time. You get to have so much fun creating some stunning images, and I also get to connect and learn so much about my couples and who they are, what they do, how they basically interact with one another, and those quirky little 1% mannerisms or those moments that they share, which might not make sense to me, but I get the privilege of capturing that on my camera, and that's really beautiful. As a photographer, make sure you check in with your couples. Ask them if they have a side preference that they basically like to capture images on. Ask them if they have a change of outfit or if they want to have a change in location, so that when you're photographing, you know exactly how much time to spend on each location or each outfit. If you're a couple, make sure you get comfortable with the idea of the fact that someone will probably be in your bubble space. I like to get really close and cuddly and just like, get all up in there and, just pop that bubble. It's also really funny when you hear people's reactions about, things that you get them to do. For instance, something that I always do is I might get, the guy to whisper something into the girl's ear. Now, I've heard, unfortunately, some very interesting responses, which I cannot say on this video for the life of me, so that's definitely not gonna happen. But there are all these tactics, tricks, and things that I know to bring out this organic expression or reaction, especially for couples who are a little bit nervous, shy, or not really too intimate with one another to get those cute, cuddly images. That's mainly a me problem, not really a couple problem, so couples, don't worry about that, I got you. Now, I have couples all the time who basically come to me and say, look, we don't really want a photo shoot session before the wedding day. We don't really want an engagement session. We just want to go for the main wedding day. And that's absolutely fine. Sometimes couples don't actually like photographs at all, but they just have to get them done for the wedding day. In which case, as a photographer, you would work with them in resolving that. But for couples who are open to the idea of testing out the waters, ironing out any wrinkles before the main wedding day, a pre-shoot session is so important to make sure that you and your photographer are both on the same page and that you know exactly what to expect just before the special day. Trust me, there's nothing worse not having a session, getting to your wedding day and realizing, holy shit, there are all these cameras in front of me. I feel really weird and awkward. Do not be a Karen and miss out on the opportunity to go back in time and go, well, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I didn't because we didn't really think it was necessary. If there's any Karens watching this, no offense to your name. I have couples all the time, they'll look at my content and go, oh, this is great, we'll just do it all on the wedding day. Now, the difference is that on the wedding day, you have a set period of time. Not to mention the fact that you're usually also really exhausted. Also, there's no, me and just you guys. It's actually a lot of other people as well. Sometimes there's families involved on the day, there's bridal parties, so you might not necessarily get those, private, cute coupley moments. So really think about it. What's actually worth it for you? Do you think it's best to have a few months in advance to have a session to yourselves for a couple of hours and get some stunning cute images? Because in my mind, I'm definitely going to say yes. And now that you have the pre-shoot locked in, what do you want it to actually be like? That's basically it, guys. I hope there's some value that you guys found as a couple or maybe even as a photographer watching this to, educate yourselves about why photography, pre-shoot sessions and engagement sessions are actually really valuable. If you guys have any questions, I'd love to hear them in the comment sections down below. Please, please, please bombard me there. I always reply to every single comment. If you're a couple who have booked me in already for our pre-shoot or engagement session, I'm super excited to meet with you guys and I can't wait to photograph your actual session itself. If you're anybody on the fence tossing and umming and ahhing about whether you should do this or shouldn't do this, I hope this video has helped you decide. Please do not be that couple that regrets the opportunity to not have one because of the time factor, the cost factor, comfortability factor, or whatever the reasons may be to tell yourselves that you guys don't need it when the benefit could be so much more of actually just having one. That's it from me, guys. If you guys love this video, show it some love by hitting that like button down below, subscribing with the bell notification icon turned on, commenting if you haven't already done so, and I will see you lovely sugar plum lemon drops cutie pie kids in the next video. Cheers, guys. Bye.